Welcome to Work-Based Webinar Wednesday. This is Dominique Bates from Rowan Salisbury School CTE. I'm here with a few of my friends today. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, but we're going to have an important conversation around cultural awareness today. Before we go on, just to let some people hop in, I just want to, how y'all doing today? How's everybody?
Man, we're good, man. Thank you for the invitation, man. Thank you. Of course, I've been knowing you basically all my life, man. So, man, grateful for the opportunity, man. Love what you're doing and just how you're being a light to so many students and so many people around our county, and what you're doing in the school system.
Yeah, doing great, Dominique, and I want to echo that as well. Thank you so much for the invitation. Just hop on here and join you for a few minutes today to talk about a very relevant topic, something that is so important to our nation right now, and especially to future generations.
Absolutely. Kaya, how you doing today? Oh, she hopped off, but somehow she got off. I'm going to give her a chance to get back on. But thanks, man. Thank y'all. Here she is. Here she is. Hey, Kaya, you hopped off. Tell the people how you feeling today.
I'm feeling good. Glad to wake up this morning. Sure.
Absolutely. So we got a few people in that are tuned in and that are listening for this conversation. So I just want you guys to tell us about your journey, and tell us who you are, what you're doing, and how you got to where you are today.
Well, I'll start first, man. Well, I actually met Pastor Jay back in 2014, and actually taking my daughter to get her hair done, like that job no father wants to do, but you got to do it on a Saturday morning. And I actually, born and raised in Salisbury, North Carolina, but they had a Salisbury. So we have different extensions of our church. Our central location is in Kannapolis, but we have a Salisbury location, one in Greensboro now, of course, 2 in Brazil and 2 in West Africa. And so I was riding in Salisbury, taking my daughter to get her hair done, and I look up and I see the sign that says The Refuge. And I was just attracted to the sign. At this time, I'm getting ready to assume taking over a church in Greensboro, North Carolina, and just was looking for, some signage, some graphic things that we could do in our church. And I called the number, which actually didn't lead me to Salisbury. It led me to Kannapolis. And a guy from Brazil by the name of Marcelo picked up the phone and scheduled a time for us to sit down and talk. And he told me, he's like, hey, man, you need to meet Pastor Jay Stewart. I think he has some things to pour into your life. And so I went back and asked my pastor, would it be okay for me to go check out a service there? A few weeks later, I met Pastor Jay inside of the concourse and told him that I wanted to meet with him. And about a month later or so, we started having conversations once a month. Man, I was pretty much impacted. I had never been inside of a service. Of course, it was a multi-ethnic church. It was different than what I've ever experienced before, but the presence of God was just real in that moment. And I remember like crying all the way home, just being impacted by what I heard in the service. So when I reached out to him, he told me a lot of people had asked him about connecting, but no one had ever actually followed up. Very few people had followed up on it. I followed up on it. He began to mentor me, walk me through the process. And we just began to develop a friendship, a relationship. And then more so mutual, just became like a father figure to me as he began to just share me about things of life, not just about church and ministry, about how to be a husband, how to be a father, begin to speak into my life. And of course, I had an amazing natural father, but just to have a father that kind of spoke to the other parts of me that were underdeveloped in certain areas, Pastor Jay was that for me. So the relationship was never about a white man pouring into somebody black. It was just about a man that I looked to, that I seen what he was doing, and I felt like there was a similarity between the call of God that was on my life.
Absolutely. So what do you do today? I know you do a lot.
Yeah. So right now, what I do a lot. But I'm a campus pastor of the Refuge Church in Greensboro. So we have a Greensboro campus. I'm a pastor. I'm also a father and an author now. We're just wrote our first book, and my first book, co-authored it together with Pastor Jay and myself. So outside of pastoring the church, just raising my family and just making sure we're trying to steward what God has given as well.
Man, that's beautiful. It's a beautiful story. Talk to us, Pastor Jay. I want to hear what you have to say. Mr. Hawkins talks very highly of you. So, I want to hear your words.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I was born and raised in the 60s in Deep South, Georgia, in a town in Georgia. So I grew up in the midst of a lot of racism and racial tensions, and we can talk more about that later on. But I spent my childhood all the way up until high school graduation there in Georgia. But I played basketball in high school. I was one of two white guys on our basketball team. So some of my closest friends were black guys and black girls in the high school that I attended. Left Georgia, went down to Central Florida to attend college, played a little basketball there in Central Florida. I had met my wife in high school, and my senior year of high school, we started dating, got married while we were in college. We've been married now for 37 years. We have 5 children and 3 grandchildren.
Wow,
and,
congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I have been in full-time vocational ministry now for 35 years and leading different churches. I spent years in youth ministry and various roles in churches. And this church called The Refuge, my wife and I actually started 16 years ago in a basement. And
Wow.
It's just been supernatural growth. We started with about 40 people in the basement. And over the years, over 16 years, of course, we've grown from one campus now to multiple campuses and really have a worldwide influence. And, the story that began unfolding between Pastor Derrick and I started, as he mentioned, back in 2014. And that has been one of the greatest relationships and assets to my life. I'm a better man because of my relationship with him. He is a son to me, a spiritual son. We never entered the relationship looking for national platforms or publicity or looking for a book deal. But all of that has come out of our relationship. And the reason it has is because there's a better narrative, we believe, that God wants to write in a very fractured nation, in a very broken nation where we still are dealing with a lot of racism. And so for whatever reason, God has just used us now numerous times and has taken our story to national levels. And now coming up next month, the release of our new book that will go nationwide and in other countries on a very, very large scale, starting November the 17th. So, hey, man, I feel blessed, that I can just be a part of this narrative that God is writing and try to bring some healing to our nation, man. God always intended that we be together. We're better together. We have to learn to celebrate our differences and not just tolerate them. And if we can leverage those, man, everybody benefits. When the water level rises, all the boats rise with it. And if we can just elevate unity in our nation, guess what? We all benefit from that. Doesn't matter what your skin color, doesn't matter what city you're from, educated, uneducated. But man, when we elevate unity, we all benefit from that. And that's what we're trying to get people to understand.
Absolutely. And so this platform is about career exposure and employability skills. And there's a reason why you're here today. Pastor Hawkins, you just told me about 3 different careers that you're involved in. Pastor Jay, you have 3 or 4 different careers that you just explained. And in all of those careers, you're an author, you're a pastor, author, pastor, father. All of these roles that you play involve some type of cultural awareness, and that's our topic. But before we get into that, you guys have a book. It's not out yet, but I can't wait to get my hands on it. I love to. I love the. I'm not gonna tell the story about the book. I want y'all to chime in and just tell us about your new book. Tell us how it came to fruition.
Man, we actually started writing the book back in 2017, and I actually had a dream. I had a dream that's crazy that I remember going.
You breaking up, Hawk?
Yeah, I'm not. Okay, can you hear me now? Can you see me now?
Sir. Good now.
You're back.
Yeah. So I had a dream that it was a bestseller, and I went to Pastor Jay, and he's like, crazy. An agent had just reached out to him from Nashville and said, I think we should write a book. So we just started kind of formulating the beginning of the chapters, and it kind of came pretty quickly. But then we got hit by a tornado in 2018. And so that kind of put me down for about 2 years. We actually just got back in our building. And so we kind of put a pause, but we did an article with a lady by the name of Batia from New York. And it really went viral. The story went viral at the end of November of 2019. And that story began to kind of go viral. And then Pastor Jay came back to me and said, hey, man, we need to start writing the book. And so we just sat down, and the crazy thing is, and he'll tell more of the story, and he'll tell more about where you can pre-order and all that stuff. But we never wrote in the same room.
Wow.
Like we literally sat and we would just discuss what we wanted to write about. We kind of listed out, and then I would write, he would write, and then we would just send our chapters in. But it seemed like when you read the book, you would think that we literally planned it out. We didn't plan any of it out. Like God just kind of led us in telling the story. And the reason I believe that it could, because it was a real relationship. It was a bond being formed, so we could tell it from my experience in our relationship. And so I believe that that's one of the reasons why, it's going to be successful. It's a real story. It's not a story of fiction, like it's transparency. Like we tell our story, the good, bad, and the ugly, but we also share hope and healing. I feel like that God can use this story to heal our nation.
Yeah, it's exciting, Dominique. Here's a picture of the cover of the book. The book is called Welded, Forming Racial Bonds That Last. And we talk about what has happened in our relationship, but we also talk about how people in the business sector, how students, how families, how communities can bond together, can weld together and form racial bonds that will last. And then there's pre-orders taking place on Amazon right now. And the pre-orders have been incredible because the timing is so good for this to come out. We all recognize, I think, that, man, there's a lot of anger and division and confusion in our nation, especially revolving around race. And so this great timing, I want to encourage people, go ahead and order a copy of the book. Go on Amazon, you'll find it. Just type in Welded, and November the 17th is the release. And we can't wait to see what happens with the book. We not only share our story, but we give some really practical guidelines with a lot of transparency about the struggles and the challenges, but some guidelines that'll help people know how to navigate relationships with people who look different than they look. And listen, we live every day among people who look different than us.
Yes,
so we got to learn to get along, man.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
So tell us, why is cultural awareness important?
I think cultural awareness is important for so many different reasons, man. It is impossible to be alive today and not see that there's differences in cultures, but also there's an importance of different cultures. There's something about the African American culture that's important, the white culture, the Hispanic culture, Korean, and so many other ethnicities that's important. But being aware of those cultures means that you go deeper than just seeing a person beyond the color of their skin. You want to get a chance to know a person. And we talk about, attitudes, customs, and beliefs. That's what culture is. Culture is defined as a system of attitudes, customs, and beliefs. And every last one of our customs, our attitudes, and our beliefs are different based upon how we were raised, how we were brought up. But I think there's a spirit of division that desires to divide us without getting a chance to understand and to know our stories. So I think even what we share in our book is to tell people about, yes, we're different. There's different similarities. There's different cultures, of course, being defined, but we raise the awareness of getting to know a person's culture before you formalize an opinion or a judgment, due to the fact that you haven't had an opportunity to get to know an individual. That makes sense.
Yes, yes, that's
That's
deep.
good. Can I respond to that question as well, Micaiah?
Yes.
That's a great question. And, you know, one of the things that we see that I've seen in my marriage in 37 years, my wife and I are polar opposites. We are so different. It's not even funny. But what we discovered, and took us a little while to kind of figure this out, but we discovered that there was a way that we could leverage our differences and that we would be better together than if we would have remained apart. And I think there's a great lesson in that for humanity, that that's a whole concept of covenant relationship, is that then we come together, we blend our strengths and weaknesses together so that we're stronger, better, more effective together than if we would have remained apart. And I think that speaks of cultural differences. Now, there's a lot we can learn from each other. I've had the privilege of traveling all over the world. I'm a lifelong student, and I learned so much from people of other cultures. And here's the bottom line. In business, in families, in communities, in churches, culture will always trump vision. You can have a vision for your life. You can have a vision for your business. But if you don't build a culture that will support that vision, the culture will always trump the vision. So you have to build a culture that supports the vision that you want to see come about. And if we can learn to blend cultural differences and learn from one another, let me tell you, the vision that we have to, you know, for our lives, for our nation, for our kids, for our businesses, our schools, whatever it might be, if we build the right culture around that, then we can see tremendous things happen. We think about the vision of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had a tremendous vision, but he had to shape culture. He had to reshape culture in order to see that vision fulfilled. That's why I think it's so important that we really learn what it means to overcome the cultural differences that we have.
Okay, so what's some advice you could give me or, you know, some students my age or younger about cultural awareness?
Well, let me say that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, D.
Yeah, I think that it's okay to be different, but it's also okay to not be comfortable where you are. To know, for me as an African American man, that some of the things I get a chance to experience in life is because of my relationship with Pastor Jay. But it was also the work that I put in to change my attitude, my customs, and my personal beliefs. That no matter how much inspiration you have, you can be inspired, but you have to have work ethic. So there's some things that you have to put into it, and then you need the help of God to help you. There's some things that I could not plan on my own life. So for a student that's watching right now, who might be in an environment around parents or in a situation that you don't feel like is hopeless, number one, I want to tell you that there is hope. But secondly, you have to be willing to put in the work, and you have to change your attitude, your customs, and your personal beliefs. You don't have to be a product of what was in your environment, what was inside of your household, what you saw, what you were raised up around. You can be different. And so I just want to be an example for students that are watching to say, I graduated from North Rand High School. I came out of the same high school that Dominique came out of. We saw the same things, but we don't have to be a product of your environment. You don't have to be a product of where you came from. You can be different if you surround yourself with the right people and also change your attitude and your customs and your personal beliefs.
Man, that's solid. That's solid right there. And I would say to you, Micaiah, as well, we are all influenced by a variety of things every single day. There are hundreds, maybe thousands of things around us that are influencing us. And all of those influences help establish our core belief system. So I would say to you, it's so important that you decide what things or what people are you going to allow to influence you. You're the gatekeeper of your own life. You've got to decide what things are going to come in and stay in, what things need to go out, because everything's influencing you and everything is shaping your belief system. So, you know, there may be things that you were exposed to in your younger years or even now that, you know, if you really step back and take a look at it, maybe it doesn't line up with who you really are, or who you really want to be. Get a vision for your life and look down the road and say, who do I want to be? Who am I becoming? And then surround yourself with those who are going to influence you to help you to become that type of person, to help you stay true to that belief system that you have or that you establish. And don't let the media set that for you. Don't let your friends set that for you. You've got to decide, what is that for me? Because we live in this day where, you know, it's so much is driven by what is politically correct, what is acceptable, what is popular. And we've got to have some young people, and your generation needs to have enough courage and enough guts to say, I'm not going to let you decide for me what my belief system looks like. I'm going to control who influences me, and I'm going to set what I believe based on who I want to become. I think that's key for us.
Absolutely. And so, man, I've been sitting here taking notes, and I'm learning a lot. I already have the principles of your book right here, the 3 principles: the attitude, your customs, and your beliefs. Am I missing something?
Man, it's so much more. I think the key ingredient to anything growing is a healthy relationship. First, my relationship with God, you know, and then my relationship with others. You know, I'm a byproduct of that. And so what we share in our story is there's biblical characters that we pull from, but there's also personal relationships. There's relationships like Ralph Johns and the Greensboro Four. That without Ralph Johns, you hear about the Greensboro Four, but you don't hear about Ralph Johns, who which was an influential white man in Greensboro to help them navigate through the sit-ins. But you don't hear about that in history. So what happens is there's always an alternative narrative to kind of tell the story, you know, about Coach Herman Boone and Yost that merged the Titans in the movie Remember the Titans together. There's so many biblical stories and also natural stories, Billy Graham and Dr. King, who came together. See, unity cannot happen without partnership. So, you know, you have to have partnerships to move the ball forward. We're in a culture right now that the enemy doesn't want us to have partnerships, that Black people and white people shouldn't come together and work this out. You know, like, you know, and I know that there's a lot going on behind the scenes that feels like this shouldn't happen. But guess what? When we come together, our schools change, our neighborhoods and communities change, our government change. You know, we reduce the rate of mass incarceration. We close the Black income gap. All of these things happen when we partner with relationship. There's some things that will never change in our government for our communities without partnerships with some person in authority. My life literally changed by coming in a partnership with somebody who was different from me, but we had the same thing at heart. So don't let anything stop you from partnering with people who have the ability to change your life and your future.
Absolutely.
Let me piggyback on that very quickly, if I might, and just say that you cannot have a relationship without trust. And the only way to build trust in a relationship is to operate under this principle. And this is what we try to do. We try to seek to understand more than we seek to be understood. And oftentimes we go into relationship wanting to make sure that our agenda is heard or is priority or is fulfilled. We got to lay that aside. We got to go in saying, you know what, I want to seek to understand. I want to seek to learn more than I seek to be understood. Here's the difference between a contract and a covenant. And what we're talking about is covenant relationship. In a contract, you write up the terms to protect your rights. You want to make sure if anything goes south, you're going to be okay. But in a covenant, you lay down your rights for the betterment of the relationship. You surrender your rights so that the relationship is protected, not so that you're protected. And what we're talking about is people coming together in covenant relationships saying, hey, listen, The relationship is more important than me being right.
Ooh.
The relationship is more valuable than me, espousing my opinions.
Yes.
What can we gain from the relationship?
Absolutely.
And that's why listen, we got to look beyond skin pigmentation and see, golly, man, that there's an enemy who's trying to keep us divided. Because if we'll come together, we're going to be so much better. We're going to accomplish so much more.
Yes, we will. And then, man, I just want to thank y'all so much. I feel honored to have you guys on here, and just to speak into our students' lives and to speak into our community's life, and the life of the community. Man, I just keep thinking over and over. I got something playing in my head. Be kind. Be kind to whoever it is. It doesn't matter who that person. It doesn't matter who it is. Just be kind. And don't look. Judge. We got to start judging people by their, by who they really are. We can't judge them off of what they look like.
That's right.
And
That's
man,
right. Good.
I've been there for a long time. It seems like you can ask Hulk. You can ask them in high school and middle school, man. I was friends with everybody. And I was just kind because I was taught that, you might need that person one day. You will need it one day. You never know. And so I was just sitting here imagining, what if I was mean to Hulk in school, or if I was, he probably would have forgiven me by now. But he wouldn't be as willing to come on the webinar, And so because he's human. But man, for my students, I just want to let y'all know that all these principles that they talked about today, you need to use them every day in your everyday life, not just in the workplace, not just when you go to school, but wherever you are, you can use those principles.
Man, thank you, man. Thank you. I just want to say thank you. I know our time is coming to an end, but thank you. And for anybody that wants to pre-order the book, they can go to Amazon right now. If they're watching, if they come back and watch the video, go to Amazon and pre-order Welded, Forming Racial Bonds That Last. It releases on November the 17th. Listen, every student watching, every parent, every teacher, I promise you, there's so many principles that you can extract to teach, to share, and just to have open discussion about, that I feel like is going to be critical in changing the trajectory of our schools, our future, our communities, and our businesses, man. So thank you guys, Micaiah, Dominique, for giving us an opportunity to come on and share. Absolutely.
It's much needed. So pop quiz. Kaya, what did you learn today?
I learned the importance of cultural awareness.
All right.
And I learned a little bit about you guys, a little bit more. And yeah, basically that's it. And I'm definitely pre-ordering that book because it sounds like,
I appreciate it.
Awesome. That is awesome. All right, guys.
Yeah.
Y'all heard it.
Dominique, thank you so much.
Thank y'all so much.
What an honor to be with you and Micaiah today. Thank you.
Thank y'all so much. So y'all heard it. You can pre-order the book on Amazon. Welded, WELDED, Welded.
Scan the code.
You can scan the QR code. Go get it. This is Work-Based Webinar Wednesday, Rowan Salisbury School CTE. Follow us on our Facebook page, RSS CTE, our Twitter at RSS_CTE. Our Instagram is Rowan CTE. We're very easy to follow, RSS CTE. And thank you for tuning in. We're out.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you, bro. All right.